The Ibrahim Index of African Governance, or IIAG, is an annually published composite index that provides a statistical measure of governance performance in African countries. It is the most comprehensive collection of quantitative data on governance in Africa. Our definition of governance is reflected in the structure of the IIAG in 4 distinct categories: safety and rule of law, participation and human rights, sustainable economic opportunity, and human development.
We notice that governance continues to improve, which is a good news. Although the improvement is a little bit less than the first 5 years. So it's good news, but we should do better. Now, let us look at the bottom of the table. And some very interesting news here. Actually, the greatest improvement in governance is happening really on some very low-ranking countries, which is interesting. These are the best performance in the sense of movement. Those guys are very low in the absolute ranking, but they're showing great improvement. Here we look at the top performers. Those 5 countries have been top of our tables for the last 10 years. And we find that although those 5 well-performing countries have continued to do well, they started to show some weakness in some categories. So what we say is that even among our best countries, the top 5 performers, while they continue to improve in general, there slip up in some categories, and we say, brothers, watch it. You know. So what is the difference between the last 5 years and the previous 5 years before that? We can see clearly from these diagrams that while sustainable economic opportunity was a driver for growth and improvement of overall governance between 2005 and 2009, in the last 5 years, the driver for the improvement of governance actually comes from participation and human rights.
I think what it shows about South Africa is similar to what the top 5 countries are indicating as well, that governance has improved, but there are worrying signs, and that we need to be vigilant and never get complacent about it, because governance is not an event, it's a continual process. I think also what it shows about South Africa is that the formal architecture of governance, which is constitutions, a judiciary, a legislative system, regular elections that are free and fair, are important but insufficient in order to meet the measurement that we have of the delivery of public goods that a state has a legal obligation to deliver, and citizens have an absolute and fundamental human right to demand.
But basically what we can see very quickly is that in all 4 categories, Central Africa is coming lowest. And in 3 categories, which are safety and rule of law, participation and human rights, sustainable economic opportunities, Southern Africa is coming highest. North Africa is the country that is still ranking highest in human development. And then there are 2 maybe interesting insights at subcategory level, which is West Africa, which is ranking highest in rights, and North Africa, which is ranking lowest in gender.
I mean, clearly the signs are that more people are participating in the political process. more people are attending elections, more people are dealing with governments, but the accountability of the results of governments in all sorts of areas doesn't seem to be following through in terms of the transparency of the replies.
Well, I think it would be very interesting to be able to take up with African heads of state the fact that safety and rule of law has been deteriorating in most countries. You know, that's a really serious thing because, interestingly, the new Sustainable Development Goals, the draft of the working group, contains a goal on rule of law, and I heard in New York that there was some effort to dilute that rule of law goal. It should be the opposite. Clearly, what is needed is strong commitment to rule of law. So that would be one message.
What they should do in countries like, in many of our countries where now elections are taking place most frequently, they should register and vote. When
Many years ago, people said Africa is a basket case. We stood up and said, no, Africa is not a basket case. Africa has some problems, but there's also opportunity and there is hope. Nowadays, people say Africa is the best thing after the sliced bread. And that if you want to make money, that is the new Wild West to just go there, you know, it's a gold rush to Africa to make money. We say this is also is misrepresentation. The fact is, Africa has always been a good place for business. Africa is moving forward. Africa is
the stigmatization of not just the countries in the sub-region, but I would say Africa in general is a real issue, where over the last 10, 15 years we've tried to change the narrative of Africa from the kind of negative, hopeless continent to one of, you know, progress, real progress being made. This Ebola crisis really threatens a lot of that. We're seeing people cancelling trips in East Africa, people not wanting to go to Southern Africa. And I think the most striking comment that I heard on this was the Ethiopian foreign minister saying that Ethiopia still deals with the stigma of a 30-year-old famine. That undermines a lot of the case that Ethiopia tries to make even today for investment or even the narrative of the progress being made in that country. Now, in making sure we respond properly to the Ebola virus, we have to not do it in a way that means 30 years from now, Sierra Leone, Liberia and Guinea are thought of as Ebola countries.
O índice mostra muitas preocupações, por exemplo, no que diz respeito à participação, e mostra que a participação é uma condição para o desenvolvimento e progresso dos países. E juntamente com a participação há o Estado de Direito que deve ser respeitado, mas eu penso que também para o Estado de Direito poder vingar é preciso que haja uma capacitação para que haja capacidade de impor a réalisation de ce État de droit.
De plus en plus, je sens l'appréciation de l'index par tous les partis concernés dans un État donné. Le gouvernement d'abord, les gens qui sont responsables pour la formulation de politique de développement, il y a la société civile. Pour les gens qui sont concernés par la politique, ils voient ça, comme on dit en anglais, un dashboard pour leur montrer où leur performance, comment ils pourraient orienter leur politique pour mieux atteindre les objectifs de développement. Et pour la société civile aussi, je crois que ça c'est un outil qu'on peut utiliser pour évaluer la performance du gouvernement.